Thank you. Thank you. So hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Good morning. It's good to see some new and familiar names. I know I met a lot of you last week at our NNA community office meeting in Anchorage. So it's good to see you online again as we kind of go forward to our next competition for the Navigating the New Arctic program, which we'll talk a little bit about today. And as Liz mentioned, we're going to do a brief presentation giving you an overview of what we're expecting from proposals to come into our current iteration of the solicitation. Then we'll take some time for some questions, broad questions that might kind of apply to the whole group. And then we'll do some breakout rooms to address any specific questions that you might have. So I think many of you are familiar with NNA, but just to go over, we're supporting the research and dissemination of new knowledge needed to inform the economy, security, and resilience of the nation, the larger Arctic region, and the globe with respect to Arctic change. So our current solicitation is NSF 22520. We'll start popping links in the chat for you so you can go that, but you can also Google that and that should be able to send you to the right place as well. So some of the major goals of Navigating the New Arctic, we want to understand local and global effects of Arctic change based on interactions among the natural environment, built environment, and social systems. So as many of you are aware, NNA is a very convergence science program. We're really looking for research questions, teams, disciplines, perspectives, really coming from multiple places, whether it's you're a physical scientist or a social scientist or an engineer or an Indigenous knowledge holder and beyond. We're really looking for these diverse teams and diverse questions to address Arctic change. We want to foster diverse, integrative, and well-positioned Arctic research communities. And this also means that we want to welcome in people who haven't worked in the Arctic before into the Arctic research space. We know that those perspectives of people who have worked in other parts of the world and in other disciplines that haven't really typically been seen in Arctic research those perspectives are really critical for us furthering Arctic science. We also want to inform U.S. national security and economic development needs and enable resilient, sustainable, and Arctic communities. So in addition to NNA being a convergence science program, we're also looking for a lot of use-inspired and/or solution-oriented science as well. With the rapid Arctic change that we're seeing right now, both environmentally and socially, we know that our research is critical to inform solutions in the future, today and in the future. So that's another part of the NNA program as well. And we also want to focus on enhanced efforts in formal and informal education that focus on, again, those social built and/or natural impacts of the Arctic change. And we're looking to broadly disseminate research outcomes too. So education is also a big component of NNA as well. So to speak a little bit more about convergence and focus areas, I'll hand it over to my colleague, Jonathan Nguyen.
Thanks, Colleen. So the NNA Venn diagram shown here highlights the essence of the NNA program and how it fulfills the program goals that Colleen just outlined. At the heart of the Venn diagram is the concept of convergence research, which recognizes that many of the challenging scientific and societal problems faced by a changing Arctic occur in a complex interconnected system. These sort of societal challenges require the convergence of relevant disciplinary approaches, methodologies, and expertise. Thus, the NNA solicitation requires proposals to clearly articulate how different disciplines will converge to solve important research problems at the intersection between a social system, the built environment, and the natural environment. In addition to the convergence approach, this slide also shows the 6 focus areas surrounding the Venn diagram, with these areas highlighted in the next slide. So we won't go through these focus areas one by one, but we encourage you to review the solicitation and the accompanying FAQ document for further details on and some examples of each of these research focus areas. The key point here is that all NNA proposals are required to articulate how the proposed research addresses one or more of these focus areas. And it's important to note that this is an instance where more maybe is not necessarily better. So rather than addressing as many focus areas as you can, we encourage PIs to clearly articulate how the relevant approaches and team expertise will be brought to bear on the focus areas that are described in the research proposal, whether that's a singular focus area or one of several interconnected areas. And I'll turn the time over to Siobhan Madison to talk about different types of NNA proposals.
Thank you, Jonathan. So the current solicitation accepts 3 different kinds of proposals. We have 3 tracks, beginning with the NNA Incubator Grant track, which is up to $300,000 over 2 years. NNA Research Grants, which are up to $3 million and have a duration of up to 5 years. And NNA Collaboratory Grants, which have no budget restrictions and a maximum duration of 5 years. We anticipate a portfolio of awards that have a range of budgets actually under each of these different tracks, and durations up to these different maxima. Next slide, please. The NNA Incubator Grants are relatively small grants, and these are proposals that support activities related to Convergence Research Team formation, pilot Convergence Research activities that might test project feasibility, and also could involve engagement in capacity building to address important challenges relevant to the Arctic. The incubator grants have to address at least one of the NNA focus areas that Jonathan introduced a moment ago, and also 2 of the Venn diagram areas. And these incubator grants that are in the current solicitation are a little bit different than the planning grant track that were in the previous solicitations, because these can be used to support convergence research activities, including in ways that lead up to larger research proposals or collaboratory proposals in future iterations. Next slide, please. NNA research grants are proposals that are of relatively larger scale. They are basic science grants that address at least one of the NNA focus areas, like the incubator grant. They have to address questions that are at the intersections, these connections between 2 or more of the major elements that are depicted in the NNA Venn diagram. They should have a strong connection to real-world needs of the changing Arctic or its global impact, with clear evidence of appropriate expertise within the investigative team. And there are portions of the proposal, even separate from the project description, that will ask you to address those areas fairly directly. And they should also clearly articulate how methods and theories from social, natural, environmental, computing, and information sciences and engineering contribute to both the intellectual merit and the broader impacts of the proposed research. So these are convergence science proposals that are different from other areas supporting the Arctic at NSF, in that they have to address, again, at least 2 of those Venn diagram areas in an explicitly convergence fashion. Thank you. So with that, I think I'm turning it back over to Colleen to describe our collaboratories.
Yes, just one more slide for me, because this one is a tough one. So this one is a new type of grant that we introduced a couple of years ago called Collaboratory Grants. These are really unique at NSF. So I think it's taking a long time for all of us to wrap our heads around what we're looking for. And I'll just say, they're very open-ended. We didn't give a lot of guidance because we want to see creativity from the research community on what you think would be really compelling to you, what would be compelling to see within the scope of the Navigating the New Arctic program. So again, as Siobhan mentioned, there's no budget limitation on this. Of course, your budget needs to be commensurate with what you're suggesting. But we could imagine, your budget might be a little bit more than $3 million, or it could be a little less, depending on what you're proposing. So really what we're looking for in collaboratory grants is for groups of people to come together to collaborate and ask research questions on multifaceted, complex challenges and opportunities related to the rapidly changing Arctic. This could include things like supporting a huge collaboration of people to come together to ask grand challenge questions, maybe something that's a broader scope than the research grants that Siobhan just talked about. But we want to see these things really setting the stage for the future of navigating the new Arctic. Unlike the incubator and the research grants, which, as Siobhan mentioned, we're looking for the kind of intersections between just 2 of those Venn diagrams. We're looking for connections around all of those 3. So we want to see interactions between the built environment, the natural environment, and social systems to really take a true convergence approach to these grand challenges. These are not designed to build physical infrastructure or anything like that, but mostly just to build teams and answer these really broad research questions. Again, the solicitation text is very open-ended, so I would encourage you to reach out to the NNA working group to kind of to just ask us what we're thinking about and maybe get some feedback on your project question as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Kate Rupp to talk a little bit about the NNA Community Office and our logistics support.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I think we just wanted to provide some guidance for proposing teams on the NNA Community Office. It was established in February of 2021 and by a team from the University of Colorado Boulder, the University of Alaska Fairbanks, and APU, Alaska Pacific University. The website is nna-co.org, and we really encourage everyone to go to the website to take a look at it. The community office is designed to build awareness, partnerships, opportunities, and resources for collaboration and equitable knowledge generation within, between, and beyond the research projects funded by NNA. The NNA Community Office provides multiple resources for prospective and current PIs and organizes the NNA community meeting, which actually a number of us had an opportunity to attend the first time, which I think really invigorated our love for this work and my mail made us all excited to be engaging with NNA again. But in the same space, prospective PIs to the NNA program are encouraged to take advantage of these resources when preparing a proposal in response to the solicitation. But given that the community office is funded to support all of the NNA PIs, NNA proposals may not include letters of collaboration from the NNA community office personnel in their capacity as a representative with the NNA community office. So we can go to the next slide. And then we just kind of wanted to highlight the logistics program as well. So proposals that involve fieldwork in the Arctic must describe the fieldwork activities in the body of proposal and include a schedule of the proposed work. Logistics costs may be included direct to grants in the proposal budget if the proposer plans to make all of your own logistics arrangements. Alternatively, you may utilize third-party logistics providers. So I'm with the RSL program in the Arctic section, and we manage the prime logistics support contract that is currently to Battelle Aero. You can find more information about what they offer at this website, battellearcticgateway.org, just to kind of see what could be available to people submitting to the NNA solicitation. And you can contact one of the Arctic planning folks to just get some contact with them and see what they can offer. If you are going to utilize these services, these aren't included in your grant budget, so it doesn't count towards those limits that you're writing to your proposal to. But if you are utilizing these, you need a 1 to 2 page supplementary document that's going to be describing the scope and cost estimate for support with your proposal. And you're going to have to allow 4 to 6 weeks to prepare that supplementary document information. So you guys should be trying to reach out now to any third-party field support providers that you'd be interested in working with. There is a specific section in the solicitation involving proposals utilizing Arctic fieldwork or ship time. So really look at that, take a careful peruse over it, and reach out if you guys have any questions. And then I think I'm passing it off to Liam.
Terrific. Thanks so much, Kate. Great to be with everyone today. And so the Arctic community engagement, we have a site online that we're now getting into. We have a new initiative, increasing our outreach and trying to be more inclusive and broadening participation. And you can go to that website and this launch and see some information, and more will be coming soon. And to increase that engagement. And we have been, next slide, please. And special considerations for collaborations with Arctic communities in the NNA proposals. This is with Indigenous and local communities, and 3 specific places that this is under consideration: research sites near Arctic residents, community engagement and outreach, and then co-production of knowledge. One thing, you can look up the IARPC principles for conducting research, that is accountability, communication, respect for Indigenous knowledge and cultures, building sustainable relationships, and environmental stewardship. One thing we want to highlight here too is the continuum of research practices, methods, starting with consultation, the very basic. No longer are letters of collaboration okay. They haven't been for a long time. Last minute, you need to communicate early and engage with communities. And you may be surprised at how delightful that might be and what might come out of that as well, not just a box to check off. The second kind of place, there's consultation, and then really the next kind of increasing engagement is co-management, which many folks do, and also community-based participatory research. These are interactions with communities that can be close, and there are outcomes that benefit communities. The next stage, if you will, or continuum of work together is convergence work, as NSF has done for many years, also called co-production in working with Indigenous and local communities. And this is very intensive work together. And if you have any questions about what all these entail, you can get information on the NNA website and also at the ACE Indigenous, our website as well. And I will pass it off to talk about management plans to Roberto.
Great, thank you, Liam. I'll next focus on the management and integration plan. This is a key and vital component of the NNA solicitation. This is a required document and provides us with details on how you'll accomplish your proposed objectives, and it also includes several important elements that are listed on the slide. Principally, a convergence statement that addresses the specific goals of the solicitation, specifically touching on the NNA themes from the well-known Venn diagram and the focus areas. A listing of all the principal investigators, the co-PIs, and senior personnel attached to the project. Also, the means in which the project will be coordinated and how different disciplinary pieces will be integrated over the course of the award. There will also need to be a description of relevant collaborators and partnerships contributing to the overall project activities, as well as a statement addressing any relevant ethical and environmental considerations of the proposed activities. We are still dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic in different degrees, and so we are also asking that the management and integration plan includes a description of planning and potential contingencies with respect to the COVID-19 pandemic. And we're also expecting a clear timeline of the expected outcomes of your activities. If any of these elements are unclear or you're not sure what exactly is being requested, please don't hesitate to reach out to us via our email alias, nna@nsf.gov. I think I can get back World Cup style to Colleen.
Thanks, Roberto. Good timing too. So we just threw a lot of information at you. We tend to put a lot of text on these slides because it's recorded and the slides will be posted. So people who couldn't come today can read through them if they weren't able to kind of listen to us talk. So I always like to apologize for having too much text. I know it can be hard to kind of parse as you're listening to us, but I put up our website here so you can see more information about both the solicitation and the FAQs. Please reach out to our email alias nna@nsf.gov. We encourage you to, if you're thinking about putting together an NNA program, put together your 1 to 2 pager of what you're thinking about, send it over there and we can put you in contact with a program officer to talk to you more about that. So we're going to open it up for a little bit of time just for any broad questions, but I'll just say we have breakout rooms that will be moving in after the kind of whole group thing. And so you can see here who will be in what room. So for example, if you have questions about logistics, which is kind of complicated, especially for PIs who are new to the Arctic, feel free to grab Kate in the general breakout room. If you have questions about Arctic community engagement, feel free to reach out to Liam, but this will be the list for there. So with that, how about I just stop talking and I'll open it up for any general questions before we move into the breakout rooms. Feel free to pop it in the chat or raise your hand. I see a lot of links going on, so thanks to everyone who are posting links. Guess we made it super clear. Well done, NSF team. Okay, so we do have one question in the chat. Oh, this is a good one. Yeah, so I'm wondering if you could speak to the duration of NNA that will run into the future. Will there be many more years of solicitations? So thanks, Hunter, for this question. This is a really good question and something that, we don't have a lot of clarity on right now. So as many of you know, NNA was initially planned for, yes, people are very distracted with the World Cup match. I'm sure I did not plan this timing out well. So in terms of NNA, NNA was initially kind of envisioned to be a 5-year investment from NSF, and this is now year 5 of that initial 5-year investment. I will say that we're still trying to work out what NNA looks like in the future. I think, we have done, the research community has done so much wonderful work over the past 5 years. I think we definitely want to see NNA evolve, but we don't know what that looks like yet. So I will say this is really the last year of guaranteed NNA funding, but we will still be funding Arctic science in some way. We will still have the Arctic sciences section. We will still be funding this type of research. So just like you, we are also uncertain about the future of NNA. I hope we get news soon. Then again, we don't have a budget past, 3 weeks from now anyway. So there's a lot of uncertainty for NSF right now. So I'll just say that's kind of what we're looking at for timing. I'm sorry, I don't have more information there, but that's kind of where we're at. Okay, another question in the chat, and Twyla, I'll get to you in a second. If work would involve establishing new connections with Arctic communities, is that inherently an incubator proposal? In that would those connections need to be well established, already up and running, and demonstrably successful to be viable in an NNA research grant? Liam, do you want to take this one, or would you like somebody else to take it?
Oh, I'll just say that's a great question. And someone else that's more experienced with NNA might want to add on too. But yes, the incubator grants seem to be a terrific place to really bring people together, get those ideas flowing, really that exchange and building those relationships and trust. And there's so much that can come out of those incubator grants. So yes, I think that's correct. And anyone else who wants to add on?
Yeah, I'll just reiterate that I think that's really what we kind of designed the incubator and previously the planning grants for, was to kind of build those relationships, to define collaborative research questions. And so I would say, I don't think I would say yes or no, like a black line in the sand about a research grant. But I think a compelling research grant would certainly have those relationships already established. So we know that the team is going to be kind of working well together and able to perform the proposed research. Twyla.
Yeah, thanks. Just anticipating questions that might come from those who are going to be working across international boundaries, and recognizing that I think there's at least some perceived differences across previously funded projects on the means of supporting international collaborators, the amounts of supporting international collaborators, how to do this, and the details. What guidance do you have for folks to feel like they're really discovering all the ways that they might support potential international collaboration?
Who would like to take that one from NSF?
I could take it.
Okay, thanks, Siobhan, for it.
Yeah, international collaboration, I think for a program like Navigating the New Arctic, we recognize how important that is to doing convergence research, especially across borders. And, we rely on our reviewers, just like the other programs do, who are professors and people in the research community, to assess the quality of those connections and the equitable delivery of support across different collaborators who are involved in the research. There is some paperwork that we have to do internally when we are supporting foreign entities directly. So you'll notice in the PAPG, which is, I always forget what the acronym stands for, Proposal, Policy, Procedure Guide, something like that. You'll notice that there's some language in there that says that we often don't fund foreign entities except under some specific circumstances. But in general, the times where that's been involved in NNA proposals, it is typically well justified. And we will ask some subsequent questions following review if we need to in order to get that internal paperwork processed. Go
Oh,
ahead.
yes, we have our OISC program officer here. Go for it, Wenda.
Thank you, Colleen and Siobhan. And yes, I want to also encourage you, even though NSF can't fund international researchers in terms of salary and doing work, the exciting news that I'm seeing from the Office of International Science and Engineering is that there are new opportunities arising to help support collaborations around the globe. And one that I can name is out of NSERC, the Canadian funding agency for natural and engineering sciences. They have a program called Alliance. And if you just look up NSERC and I'll look up the website, Alliance. If you are working with a Canadian researcher who's engaged in your project and who would like salary support, they can, if you're funded through NSF, they can also get funding through NSERC. And my hope is that we're going to see more and more of these types of opportunities, as well as more multilateral funding opportunities. So know that NSF is limited. However, thank you, Liz, for putting that up. But there are opportunities, and you can always reach out to a program officer or myself. I'd be happy to chat with you about ways of broadening your international collaboration and partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you, Wenda. So I think maybe we can move on to breakout rooms. I will say our plan for breakout rooms is not to come back to this bigger room. It's just a place for people to chat with anyone in the breakout rooms about questions that might be specific to the grant track that you're thinking about. So we won't plan to come back, but I know some people might want to sneak off and watch the football game, or we can stay and stay in breakout rooms too. So before we all take off to our separate rooms, I just wanted to thank IARPC for hosting this and my NSF colleagues for helping present this work. So we'll head off to breakout rooms and we'll talk to you in there.